Well, Mike, we spent some time yesterday talking about Notre Dame picking up 4 commitments in 4 days. Now let's talk about some other recruiting issues today. This isn't really an issue. This is a good thing, as Justin Scott, a high-end defensive lineman in the class of 2024, is front and center right now for many Notre Dame football fans as they follow his recruitment. Mike, let's just start off with some basics who Justin Scott is.
Well, he's going into his junior year of high school, making him a class of 2024 player, and he's listed at 6'5", 310 pounds. Now, look, these high school listings, we try to be as accurate as possible, but let's just say he's 6'4" and like 295 or 300. That's still really darn good. Like he's going in his junior year of high school, and he's not like overweight either. Like he's got a very good build for an interior like impressive. I'm sure Matt Bayless is thinking, I really hope we land this kid so I can get him in my strength and conditioning program. I mean, goodness gracious. On3 has him ranked as the number 3 overall player nationally, number 1 interior, defensive lineman. Which, he doesn't have like your traditional, Alabama, LSU, Texas, USC. He doesn't have the traditional offer list. He's got Notre Dame. He does have LSU actually. Michigan, Wisconsin. Which this is a side note. Like On3 doesn't really look at offers as a determining factor in your ranking. It's what they see in an evaluation and information they have on a young man. But Justin Scott's a freak show. The industry average ranking has him listed as the number 12 player and number 1 interior defensive lineman. I mean, Justin Scott is he's a freak show, and to this point, he's only played 15 high school football games. So he's got a very high ceiling as well. This is a player who I do believe will end up with just about every scholarship offer before it's all said and done. And Darren, from Chicago St. Ignatius. So that is a nice little added bonus that, and I wrote about this at blueandgold.com this week. Like usually when Notre Dame's recruiting a player to try to get them into campus, it's, they're far away. It's an expensive unofficial visit. For a Chicago kid who's ranked as a 5-star per On3, it's a little bit easier to drive over to South Bend. So this is a recruitment from a Notre Dame friendly school, in Chicago that the Irish should be able to win. But, it's the recruit's decision at the end of the day. So we'll see what Justin Scott ends up doing.
Mike, you mentioned his size right now for his age. I got to be honest with you. When you posted the story on Twitter about him and there was a picture of him in a Notre Dame uniform, he looked like a junior in college. I mean, he had 99 on. He is just well put together. I mean, honestly, had you not written a story, I would have guessed he would have been a Notre Dame football player already.
Yeah, and he is. I'm pulling up this article right now for our YouTube audience, so I do apologize for radio, but I mean, he is again. He's lean for being 6'5", 310 pounds. So, like, it doesn't make sense, but I mean, he is. He's quite the specimen. Actually wrote 2 articles about him at blueandgold.com. One was on what's today, Darren? All the days run together. Tuesday morning, about his recent Notre Dame visit that he took at the end of July, as well as just his recruitment overall, as well as an article I wrote last night with a prediction that I logged for Justin Scott to land at Notre Dame. Now, I'm not expecting him to announce a commitment here anytime soon, or so it's what I would call a projection pick. But my sources on the Irish side of things do feel like Notre Dame is the lead school. So pretty big deal here if Notre Dame's able to land Justin Scott. Again, we'll see. I expect them to take visits. He mentioned wanting to see a bunch of the Midwest schools this fall, and obviously that would include Notre Dame. So there's some battling here to do, but again, St. Ignatius in Chicago should be a school that Notre Dame should be able to pull a prospect out of.
Mike, since we're talking about an elite defensive lineman, let me ask you about Coach Washington for a moment. When Mike Elston left for Michigan, he was one of the top recruiters on Brian Kelly's staff. He did a great job of not only recruiting, but developing defensive linemen. He's now at Michigan. Coach Washington has moved into that particular role. How effective has he been so far on the recruiting trails?
I mean, I would say very good, and he's helped a lot with linebacker recruiting, even because he was the linebackers coach at Ohio State, and he had built relationships with some of the linebacker recruits, like Drake Bowen. He was recruiting as an Ohio State. The big one was the guy that the Irish got last week, Jaden Osbury. He was, I was told, a strong Ohio State lean when Al Washington was the Buckeyes linebackers coach. Um, never committed to Ohio State, obviously, and then Washington gets to Notre Dame in January, and that just gave Notre Dame another boost in that recruitment. So, um, and the proof has been in the pudding so far. Defensive linemen, landing, who have been the commitments? Devin Houston, Boubacar Traore, a couple in the 2024 class, and Owen Wafel and Brandon Davis Swain. Done a good job with Justin Scott. So he's been very good. But I'll add, Darren, gone are the days on the Notre Dame staff that it's just one coach and he recruits that position, and the coordinator might get involved on a visit, and the head coach will just see the kid on that final visit, or maybe a couple phone calls here. Though that's gone. It truly is like a four-pronged attack on every recruitment. You got Chad Bowden, director of recruiting, is involved with every player, the position coach, the coordinator, and Marcus Freeman. So you have at least four coaches involved. And then with some of these, like Osbury, you had Al Washington, Al Golden, Chad Bowden, Marcus Freeman, James Laurinaitis, another linebacker coach who's been very good for the Fighting Irish. And I don't think Laurinaitis, who's in a grad assistant role for the Irish, I don't think he's going to be around for very long because he's got position coach written all over him. So you just have a lot of support staff that's doing a really good job helping out these position coaches.
I'm a novice, but that seems like the logical way to go after a kid.
I think I've told this story before, but there was a recruit a few years ago who was committed to Notre Dame, and after a game, kind of made eye contact with Brian Kelly and wanted to have a conversation, and Kelly just kind of gave the nod and kept walking as if Kelly didn't know who the guy was, and he was committed to his program. It's just not how things go anymore. I mean, I said it on the air on Monday that, Marcus Freeman's recruiting guys hard, and they haven't even offered the young man yet. So it's just a lot different.